2 minutes till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Thirty seconds till broadcast. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Broadcasting from the heart of the nation, the next generation in conservative talk radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Oh, yes, it is. What is up, my friends? Welcome into it. It is the Voice of Reason. I am Andy Hooser. It's a Monday. We are setting that tone. It has been a wild Monday for sure to set the tone for the whole week. There's plenty to talk about with the battle in the U.S. Senate escalating up. Could we find a resolution there? TSA taking a step aside as ICE agents work their way into the airports across the nation, and of course, some shakeups going on in the nation of Iran, and that's just to scratch the surface. So strap in, buckle up, let's have some fun doing our thing.
Do it live!
Like we do every single day here on the program, especially for a Monday, broadcasting out of the heart of the nation in Wichita, Kansas, on our flagship station. But we are all over the country with so many great radio affiliates, and welcome aboard. We have bottom of the hour, Dr. Julie Gatza on the program. She is with the Florida Wellness Institute of Health. We're going to talk MAHA, the latest for health food, and are we seeing food that's poisoning Americans?
Say what?
Yeah, that's right. So we'll talk about how to eat a little bit cleaner and toxic food that may be causing some health issues for you. Always great to do kind of a health update here on this program. But there's a lot to talk about for sure. And obviously with Congress that's in a stagnation right now, we got the chance to sit down a little bit earlier today with our senator here, my senator in the state of Kansas, Senator Roger Marshall, to talk about the latest because he has been all over this government shutdown, the SAVE Act, and what they've been doing in Washington, D.C., which I think is important to discuss. And where are we at? Could we see an end to some of this shenanigans? I think is worth having that conversation. Now that Senator John Kennedy has now come out with a plan to potentially fund Department of Homeland Security, then do a reconciliation bill to fund ICE and leave Democrats essentially in the dust and taking away all of their leverage. Is it a good idea or a bad idea? We did that a little bit earlier today with U.S. Senator Roger Marshall from the state of Kansas. This is what he had to say. Senator, how are you, my friend?
Andy, it's great to be with you, and you're right. We have a lot on our plate and a lot to talk about today. Where do you want to start?
Oh, I tell you what, man, it has been wild. I have to say, I've been following as much as I can with the filibuster on the Senate floor, and every time I turn the feed on, I see you there. You are rocking it on that Senate floor, calling out the Democrats for the lack of this passage of the SAVE Act right now. We're a week into it now because I believe you guys started it right around this time last week. What's the latest? Are we any closer to actually seeing the vote happen on this thing and getting it through?
Andy, I'm afraid not. We even gave the Democrats an opportunity to vote just on a standalone voter ID, and they voted that down. 70% of Democrats, 80% of Americans think it's reasonable to have a real ID when you go to vote. We believe in the sanctity of our elections. We trust, but we verify, right? When you and I get on an airplane, everyone recognizes Andy Hooser, everyone recognizes Roger Marshall, but we have to verify it, right? Why is that unreasonable when we go vote to ask that same type of trust but verify? But we're making no progress. The Democrat senators don't believe in voter ID.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Why would be the big issue? They always say, and I've been hearing them on the Senate floor as well, saying that it's a non-issue, that no one illegally is voting. No one's voting without some type of ID. There's no illegal aliens or undocumented people that are voting in the elections. It's a non-issue. Senator, if it were a non-issue, then this wouldn't be something that we have to do a filibuster for an entire week. I would think that if it's a non-issue, you just pass it, you blow it off, and then be like, you know what, it's not a big issue anyway, so why the heck do we need to shut everything down for it? It's kind of a telling sign for Democrats, isn't it?
Exactly. I'd make 2 points. Number one is no American wants their vote canceled by an illegal vote. That we value our vote so much, it just makes me want to cry to think that my vote could be canceled. You know, you work all day, you get off work, and instead of going home, you stop, you stand in line for 2 hours, and you vote. So the thought of your vote being canceled, whether it's 1 or 100 or 1,000 of them, we shouldn't let that happen. Secondly, at least 60% of Americans have some concern about election integrity, one way or the other. And we saw this. We saw it for 2 reasons. Number one is when they opened up non-solicited ballots. When you're sending out more ballots than there are people in your county, something is wrong. These people have moved, they've died, they've never been taken off the roll, but they're getting a non-solicited ballot. So what's happening with those? And the other backdrop, whether we're talking about DHS funding or this, is that we have 50 million non-citizens in this country now. We have 50 million people that are not citizens of this country living here. 1 out of 6, 1 out of 7 people. 4 states are actively registering those people to vote. And that's the ultimate goal here, is they want these non-citizens on their voter roll. Yeah. They think that that's the future of the Democrat Party. And that's where, I kind of tie DHS and the SABAC together up here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It really shows the priority. And it's been a common denominator when President Trump asked everybody to stand during the State of the Union and said, if you represent Americans over illegal aliens, they refuse to stand. They're shutting down the government for the SAVE Act. They're shutting down the government for DHS funding and ICE reforms. I mean, we can show exactly what their priorities are. So, Senator, here's the next question. What is the next step with this filibuster? How long will it go? And John Kennedy actually proposed an idea of separating DHS funding from ICE, which is what Democrats have been proposing to do, and then actually passing ICE funding without the supermajority that you need and doing it as a simple vote in a different way. Is that possible, and do you think that's the next step?
So I think certainly for the DHS funding, it is, and that would be a reconciliation process that only requires 50 votes. This is how we did the working family tax cuts bill. So we would do the same thing. Senator Kennedy are on the Budget Committee. We're supposed to meet today. Senator Lindsey Graham is the chairperson of that particular committee. We discussed it all weekend, and now we need to make it happen. Look, Congress needs to go down 2 roads at the same time, sometimes 3 roads. And if the Democrats aren't going to come and negotiate, then we need to move forward. I want to make a real strong point here, Andy, is that the Democrats have already stopped negotiating. It took them 30 days. They sat on DHS funding for 30 days, no funding, before they agreed to sit down face-to-face with Republicans on the Appropriations Committee. That's where this would be negotiated. They had 2 talks, and then they called off the rest of them. It took them 18 days to respond to President Trump's offer as well. Look, the Democrats want this, that they're putting their political priorities ahead of the safety of American citizens. Every day they delay funding for DHS.
Yeah, amen to that. It is unfortunate, but again, their political stance going into midterms, I don't know if it's going to bode well for them for sure. We're talking with U.S. Senator Roger Marshall, state of Kansas, my senator here in the state of Kansas. Kind of on this topic, we have the DHS funding that is still lingering right now because of ICE particularly, and we saw the announcement over the weekend from President Trump of sending ICE agents to become TSA workers at airports from the long lines, some of the first ones showing up at the airport in Georgia and in Atlanta, that making the news today. I've seen some of the video. Is that some of the political leverage? Does this take leverage away from Democrats when what they're trying to reform we're just going to send them out to become TSA agents.
Well, Andy, I don't know how this is going to work out. I think it sounds pretty simple, but I appreciate the ICE agents being there. I do think they're going to make the airport safer. Maybe it slows down some of the trafficking coming through there as human trafficking, that type of thing as well. I think this is it's a much more complicated puzzle. I don't think it's going to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And just to say a big thank you to all those TSA agents out there. They're patriots. So these are the modern day patriots. Remember our founding fathers, they weren't getting paid either. The military, and the ones that did, it was people like you and me reaching into our pockets and paying those soldiers as well in so many cases. So I feel horrible about the situation. But I wake up every morning, Andy, like you do, and say, is my family safe today?
Yeah.
Are Kansans safe today? Are Americans safe today? And I think that this is such a big issue that we have to keep DHS together. Remember, DHS was started in the ashes of 9/11. We took 22 agencies and combined them, working together. If these agencies have been cooperating with each other, sharing information, maybe 9/11 doesn't happen. Everyone had a piece of the puzzle, but no one put the puzzle together. DHS, we need to fund the whole thing. We need to keep them working together.
Well, we have some serious concerns. We've already had 3 or 4 different terrorist attacks on American soil already with these quote-unquote sleeper cells, independent agents, whoever they are, which is a concern. So let's go there for a moment, Senator. I know you're short on time, but let's talk about Iran. The news that we saw yesterday throughout the weekend, President Trump saying that we're halting any type of bombing in Iran for 5 days with, quote, negotiations and conversations happening right now. Have we met our goal? We looked at a 4 to 6 week timeline. We're about 4 weeks into it now. Have we met the goals that we were looking at, and what could potentially be the future of this negotiation with Iran look like?
Yeah, and first of all, as a former officer in the military myself, I want to stop and just mourn the loss of 13 soldiers. And there's a dozen or more that are seriously injured. And I pray for Godspeed for our troops that are there, and I'm grateful for their efforts. To answer your question, I think we're 90% there. President Trump laid out very clearly 4 goals. Don't let the national media fool you. In writing, he said 4 goals. We want to destroy Iran's missiles, their nukes, their navy, and destroy their ability to fund, arm, and train terrorists.
Yeah.
So on the first 3, I think we're 90% there. I think on the ability to fund and arm terrorists, I'm afraid we got some work to do, and that'll be the hard judgment call as well. This thing is fluid. It's day to day. Remember who we're dealing with here. And that's why it makes it so hard, is that we're dealing with irrational, bloodthirsty theocracy, religious fanatics, if you will. And there's nothing rational in their thought process. So it's really hard for us from Western culture to grasp what that is like right now. But I'm just supporting the troops, and I appreciate everyone praying for the troops and just praying that they'll be protected, and then we'll be successful as well. So generations of Americans will be protected from future terrorist attacks from this horrible, horrible theocracy.
Yeah, exactly. I want to see a different regime in there, and I don't want this to go on for long. I don't want this to go on forever. We're not about long-term conflict, and that's why so many people supported President Trump, was because he wasn't about long-term conflict, military-industrial complex, that sort of thing. But if we're going to do it, I don't want the same regime that continues to lie to us day in and day out to continue to be in there. I think that's kind of counterintuitive of what we've been trying to do. At the same time, we've seen gas prices this morning, at least on a Monday, begin to go back down. The Strait of Hormuz actually opening up again. I know you've proposed an idea for the agricultural side when it comes to fertilizer and the Fertilizer Act right now, trying to help out farmers because of how this has been impacting that sector of our industry here in the United States. I know it's early right now and there's a lot of uncertainty, but are we more optimistic we could see a balancing out of some of these oil prices and get things back on track agriculturally?
We will, Andy. I mean, history has played out just live for us right now. This will seem like a hiccup a couple of years from now. But regardless, we are focused on those input costs for farmers. Look, we saw natural gas, back up. We saw fertilizer prices go up 50% under Joe Biden. So we've started at this high price already. Fertilizer, the nitrogen fertilizer, is made from natural gas. So whenever there's a conflict in the Middle East, that this is a worldwide commodity, just like oil. So if oil goes up, then this commodity goes up. The good news is here in America is that natural gas, LNGs, only went up about 5% versus, for instance, in Europe, it's went up 50%. So we have the capacity to make more of it. It's what I'm trying to say. And what our bill does right now, the fertilizers that like many industries in America, the fertilizer industry, you have 3 or 4 dominant companies controlling 90% of the industry.
Yep.
So we're trying to spur competition. And by the way, our working family tax cuts bill that does a lot of that already, allowing people to write off even the physical plant part over a year's time as opposed to over 30 years' time. But we're going to try to promote new entries into that market. Something called a biostimulant is something that we would like to promote. So rather than using nitrogen, there's natural, like fungus and bacteria that help the roots grab water and grab the natural fertilizers out of the soil. So it's one little piece of the puzzle, but like you, we're hoping a very quick end and successful end to the war in Iran.
All right, U.S. Senator Roger Marshall, our sit down with him earlier today. We'll break some of that down a little bit later here on the program for a Monday here on The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
When America builds, the world follows. Our energy powered the 20th century. We've set the standard for generations, and we never waited for permission. But now, we're being held back. Outdated rules, endless delays. Without permitting reform, Washington's red tape is slowing us down while other nations race ahead. It doesn't have to be this way. We can clear the way for energy that's affordable, reliable, and built right here. Because what's built here is felt here. Lower costs, more jobs, stronger communities. That's what permitting reform makes possible. Energy didn't just shape our country, it powered the American dream. And with our innovation, we can lead the 21st century. Congress has a choice. Build America's energy future or risk falling behind. Tell Congress, pass permitting reform now.
Hey, did you know that you can have multiple different networks on one single smartphone? Well, with Patriot Mobile, you can. It's time for you to sign up for the Patriot Mobile primary phone plan with plans as low as $15 a month, where you can have 2 numbers and 2 networks on one single phone. And right now, if you sign up using the promo code REASON, you can get an entire month absolutely free. It's the Patriot Mobile One plan. 1 phone, 2 numbers, and 2 networks. And it's all at patriotmobile.com/reason. Again, patriotmobile.com, and use the promo code REASON. As you know, I'm always looking for a good snack, but it's hard to find good quality snacks without all the unhealthy additives. But now that problem is over. It's time to enjoy J&S Smoked Snacks. Real cuts of beef, real wood smoke, and real flavor that's crafted in small batches to keep every bag fresh. I promise you'll be addicted. And with numerous different flavors, you'll never get enough. This is not your average gas station jerky. It's J&S Smoked Snacks. Find them online at jssmokedsnacks.com and tell them I sent you.
What fuels the freedom to dream bigger? How did 2 guys in a cramped California garage reimagine the phone and put the power of the universe at our fingertips? At Americans for Prosperity, we believe greatness can happen anywhere. We just need freedom and the opportunity to make it real. But today, with a rigid system stifling progress, limiting creativity, and holding us back. That's why at AFP, we offer solutions that tackle the most critical challenges facing our country, so there's nothing standing in the way of America's next breakthrough. Because what we build today doesn't just shape the future, it defines it. How will you be defined? Take your first step today with Americans for Prosperity.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever, every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. choose Patriot Mobile.
Switch today and get 1 month of service absolutely free by going to patriotmobile.com/reason.
When reason meets radio. This is the voice of reason with Andy Hooser.
All right, welcome back into the program. Great to have you today for a Monday, setting that tone, doing the thing like we do every single day here on the show, and it's so great to have you as usual. Thanks again to U.S. Senator Roger Marshall coming on the program, an update from Washington, and I'm trying to find, as we go through, trying to see where we're at with the filibuster, because it's still been lingering out there, and tomorrow we're supposed to have the confirmation of Mark Wayne Mullen, but we apparently are still going through right now. John Thune and Chuck Schumer kind of hashing it out, so having some fun there. We may go live to that in just a little bit, but there is a potential solution that we will talk about in just a moment. First and foremost, I want to tell you about my friends over at Americans for Prosperity. As you know, we're going into election season, and affordability is the trigger word for the state of affairs today. Started from the left, then they kind of backed off because they realized their policies don't really help with affordability. Whoopsies. So they kind of backed off on that idea, but by golly, we're there and we're fixing it, and our friends over at AFP have been doing the same as well. I want you to go to a website. It's completely free. Go to americansforprosperity.org/affordability. You'll see the affordability plan on what we can do for permitting reform, what we can do to deregulate, what we can do to cut taxes, and we can get the economy going the way it's supposed to. I filed my taxes, and I think if you filed them as well, you'll be somewhat surprised with what your tax returns may be looking like this year, thanks to not to Democrats, but to the one big beautiful bill, to the tax reforms that we've seen under President Donald Trump. It is going to be, as Donald Trump would say,
and I think we're going to make it big later.
Yeah, that's right, and that's only the beginning of what we could see with the golden age of America. Go to americansforprosperity.org/affordability and get americansforprosperity/affordability and check out the affordability plan right now and what you can do to help out that movement. So I've been really enjoying, and I've been kind of tuning in and out throughout the day. Had an honor to fill in for the Todd Starnes radio program earlier today. I've been trying to keep up with it the best I can with the filibuster. But last night, Senator John Kennedy proposed an idea on what we can do to go beyond just the rhetoric that we're hearing on the Senate floor from both sides, and how we can actually be productive, how we can really take it away, because the filibuster's not going to do anything. Democrats will still vote against it when they have the opportunity for the SAVE Act, and we're going to see a stagnation in the Senate. So what can we do? Apparently there's a new plan out there.
We ought to do, and I've talked to most of my colleagues about it, including Senator Thune. I don't speak for them. I would accept the Democrats' offer to open up everything except ICE at DHS. And then the very next day, I would pass a reconciliation bill which crafts a budget for ICE. We can do it without any Democratic votes.
All right, so we get the simple majority. We pass DHS funding, get everybody back to normal. We do a reconciliation for ICE, which we, again, only need a simple majority for. It takes all the leverage out of the Democrats. Now, according to what we've just heard as well with headlines today, is that John Thune, Senate Majority Leader, has presented that plan to President Donald Trump, who has rejected that plan and said, no, we're not splitting up ICE funding from DHS. And now this seems like kind of a back burner, worst case scenario, Hail Mary to get things back on track if we need to. I almost understand why he's doing it, though. We just got word, and I can't pull the audio right away, but apparently CNN's reporting that in the Atlanta airport, wait lines that were 3 to 4 to 5 hours long, with people waiting not just in the terminal but wrapping around outside of the airport, that now with the help of ICE, who has showed up to multiple different airports, wait times are down to 40 minutes. 40 minutes, right? No, I know. And if we went from 5 hours down to 40 minutes, that means that whatever working here is working with ICE actually there to assist individuals, and Democrats obviously are not going to be happy about that. So we've taken away the leverage during this situation. They want to abolish ICE. We utilize them more than what they were intended for. They want to put pressure on American people with the long wait times at the airport. We just cut that out by using the agency that they hate the most in order to do that. It's a brilliant move. Let's see how long this one goes on for. It's a Monday for the Voice of Reason. Stay here.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Miss any part of the show? Well, don't worry. Now's your chance to go find the podcast and listen to as much of the Voice of Reason as you'd like. As the show continues to grow all across the nation with great radio affiliates, we also continue to grow as one of the top conservative podcasts, ranked 5th on the MillionPodcast.com Best 50 Conservative Leadership Podcasts in the nation, and number 1 on FeedSpot.com's 30 Best Conservative Talk Shows in the country. The show continues to grow each and every day. Just find us on any of your favorite podcasting sites at The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com.
truth, reason, and common sense. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Yeah, it is. What is up, my friends? Welcome back into it here for your Monday, doing the thing. Have no fear, the Voice of Reason's back. Especially to kick off your week and set that tone for you, which is what we love to do each and every day. If you want more information on the show, find us on our website, HooserReason.com, HOOSER Reason.com. You can check it out. We have some new features on there, some new tabs, and some new information. Our bingo card of the year is still up there, the political bingo card of 2026. Also, I got to thank you, man. Our podcast numbers are killing it, baby, for compared to what we had seen last year. We're already at the halfway mark. For our total download numbers in 2025, we've already surpassed that, and it's not even the end of the first quarter this year. So thank you for that. That's awesome. We appreciate it very, very much. Especially with all of our new affiliates that we have for the weekday program and the weekend program that is growing like a Kansas weed. We appreciate that. Again, for the podcast, you can find it on any of your favorite podcasting sites by just typing in the full name of the show, which is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser. Subscribe to it. You'll get the automatic download of all of our episodes for the weekday show, the weekend show, and so much more. I want to focus some time for just a moment. We'll get, by the way, Dr. Julie Gatza, we'll work on getting her on the program. She's running a little bit late. We'll see if we can't get her on today. If not, we will reschedule her. That's not a problem. I want to focus some time for just a moment. As we talked about the plan to potentially end the filibuster, which we have some things to do, right? We have Donald Trump that's now proposed the new AI guidelines for artificial intelligence in the nation. We have healthcare we have to work on. We have Department of Homeland Security shutdown we have to work on. Tomorrow is the confirmation vote for Mark Wayne Mullen for Secretary of DHS. There are a lot of things that the Senate and Congress in general needs to be focused on, not going through a filibuster that's not going to do anything on the SAVE Act, because we're still not getting Democrats to be like, aha, here's the great moment. So here's the question for you with our What's Trending.
What's trending today?
I know this has been a divisive topic in general for Republicans, but should we repeal the filibuster? In general, in the Senate, should we repeal it and just go with a simple majority vote? We don't have the votes to do it right now. However, after a weeks-long verbal filibuster on the SAVE Act, there's been some rumblings in the Senate that maybe some people are starting to reconsider because nothing's getting done the way it needs to. And now they're starting to feel the pressure, which kind of a day late and a dollar short, if you know what I mean, as we go to midterm season for 2026, that Republicans especially want to show that they're action and they're being productive and they're getting things done. So now the question is, could we see a potential end of the filibuster? Former Senator Joe Manchin, the independent, came on one of the Sunday morning talk shows to say, I hope that doesn't happen, but there's really nothing stopping Republicans right now from doing that.
So the bottom line is we had stability. We have predictability in the world. So that's why it's the soul of the Senate. Now, I would say to the Democrats, my Democrat friends, if you were using me and Kirsten to catch the spears, but you really felt like we did, but you didn't have to do it. Okay, I'm okay to be a spear catcher. I'm fine. I've always been independent. But now, stand up. You need at least 10 or at least 5 Democrats right now to sign a pledge that we will not, absolutely under no way, shape, or form, will we vote to get rid. Now, if you're not willing to do that, then what Ron is saying, then have a vote change. If you want to go down in annals of history of saying that I nuked the Senate, I voted to get rid of the Senate and become a flip-flop glorified House, that every 2 years, I'll guarantee you, we will not remain the superpower of the world because we will not be predictability. It will not be sustainable. And that will basically kill the soul of the Senate.
All right, so let's talk about the filibuster for just a moment, because I know that a lot of people have a lot of opinions on the idea of the filibuster needing that supermajority of 60 votes as opposed to a basic just regular majority of just 51 or 50 plus the vice president. That would be the tiebreaker in those types of needs. There are pros and cons to that in general. Overall, most of us, especially on the conservative side, most of us believe in the idea of a filibuster because it's very difficult to get to 60 votes in the Senate, and therefore it's difficult for them to pass any laws. And majoritively, as conservatives, as limited government individuals, we don't like a lot of laws being passed, right? We just don't. We don't want, we like the stagnation. I know the media hates stagnation. I know the Democrats hate stagnation because they say we're not doing anything, we're not getting anything done. And according to some, when government is the answer and when something bad happens, we always say, look, government, do something. When that type of mentality hits, then yeah, they don't like stagnation. But in the great words of what was it, Ronald Reagan back in the day, that if government's not passing any laws, they're not infringing upon anybody's rights. Because most of the time, laws that are passed in Congress are predominantly regulatory things to where they're going to control more aspects of your life and control the private sector. And we don't like that. So normally, we like the stagnation where it's very difficult to get anything done. So therefore, we make it as challenging as possible to get anything done. And that's why the filibuster's in place. That's why the majority of the time we actually like that. Here's the thing, and we've said it before, Democrats have an opportunity with how much hatred, vitriol, just passion they have against Donald Trump, and not just to stop him, but the retribution. And mind you, if we see them get the majority in Congress, either in the House or the Senate, or God forbid both, it's going to be nothing but an assault on Donald Trump for 2 years. It's going to be no productivity. It's going to be removing and making sure we never codify his agenda whatsoever. And it's going to be a full-out assault to impeach him, to remove him from office, to try to imprison him, to do anything possible. Now, I don't think they're going to win the Senate. I think we're still going to have the majority there. That's going to be the more challenging one. After all the redistricting garbage that we went through, Democrats really like to game the system even more so than Republicans. We kind of dipped our toes in the water on gerrymandering, and they're like, yeah, this is our game, baby. Don't mess with us because watch what we can do, right? That's kind of what we just went through. So right now we have the question. We have a midterm season where we have a chance. In fact, according to Fox News, latest polls show that the blue tsunami they were hoping for probably won't happen, but it looks like they could be up near 6 votes in the House. They have 6-point gain over us. I think that could change. I mean, 24 hours can change an election one way or the other very easily. So I'm not losing hope there. I'm still optimistic that we're going to prevent that from happening, especially with the decaying status of the Democrat Party in general. But that being said, we need, if Republicans want to keep the majority and we want to give them our trust to do things, you have to get things done. And the only way to do that right now is either put things in a reconciliation bill or to end the filibuster. And again, there's pros and cons here. I'm of the mindset right now, at least this is where I'm at the moment, where I'm okay talking about ending the filibuster. Because I know Democrats would have no problem if they had an opportunity for a simple majority vote to do something negative to Donald Trump or Republicans or anybody associated with him, or removing any of his cabinet members from their positions, RFK Jr., Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Scott Bessent, any of these people, if they had an opportunity to do any of that, they would do so in a heartbeat, even if that remains removing the filibuster, as Joe Manchin said. So unless they sign a pledge that says we will not end the filibuster on our end, please don't do it on your end, I think it's worth Republicans considering we remove the filibuster, and I mean ram everything down their throat. Everything. The 300-plus executive orders from President Donald Trump, especially those within the first 6 months of the administration. Something like the SAVE Act. Something like DHS funding where we don't have to split it up piece by piece by piece. Everything that we can possibly do. Repealing Obamacare. And I don't mean just we're going to keep it around as an option in the private market. No, I mean it's going to end, and you only have private sector options. Like, we go hard and we vote on it and vote on it and vote on it, and we pass as many laws as possible, and we cram it down the throats of the Democrats, and then we tell them to say thank you. And you realize how crazy they would go? Do you realize how mad? But what would be the difference from what we have right now? Republicans have a really hard time of being aggressive because they're more afraid of what the polls look like. They're more afraid of their own shadow, and they're really afraid of what the election might turn out to look like when they actually stand and they make a bold stance. But if the Republican caucus did that as a whole, and they said, we're going to go from 0 to 60 and pass as much as possible, I think that there would not only be a lot of respect for the Republican caucus in general and Republican voters, but it would also, at least in my opinion, could be wrong here, I think it would win over a lot of independent voters and a lot of libertarian voters. Could be wrong on that. But I think that the Republican Party showing a spine in doing something bold, doing something somewhat controversial, I think would win over a lot of people that have been staying out of politics and are like, wow, the Republican Party's actually doing something. They're in power and they did the changes that we want. Donald Trump's been doing them from his end, but he can only do so much. We can move money around from the Department of Education, which we are. By the way, student loans being transferred to the Department of Treasury, that's been needed to be done for a very long time. We're gutting it out, but we can't defund or shut down the Department of Education. That's got to be an act of Congress. We can shell it out. We can have the money go to a shell of an organization, but we can't physically shut it down and say reappropriate that money elsewhere when you actually do your budgets. That's got to be an act of Congress. Congress, where are you? When are you going to shut it down? We wanted to gut these administrative states. We wanted to gut these courts that are specifically defending these rogue branches of government and these rogue agencies and these rogue departments that are standing up and benefiting them, not benefiting the private sector. Where are you on this stuff? It's unlikely we're going to see it, especially right now with the 60-vote majority in the Senate. I think now's an opportunity for us to really ram that home and show what we can do, and I guarantee you we would see a landslide election in the midterms, even when it's usually favorable to the other side of the aisle, because of the simple fact that Republicans want to see action from Republicans, and it's not just Donald Trump. Whether we like it or not, well, we all know that we have a limitation on the presidency, right? So Donald Trump's not going to be in office much longer, and he can do as much as he wants, but until we codify it, it could be a Joe Biden all over again, come in and reverse everything that he's done, and then we're back to square one. And guess what? The step-by-step slow progression of what Democrats have as their starting point every time they get in office, that didn't go away, and we didn't change anything. And I think we need to really take a serious look at how to really upset the system and shake things up in Washington, D.C., which I know a lot of people just want to hit the reset button in general. Is it worth it? Do we end the filibuster, or do we make Democrats promise that they're not going to end the filibuster when they get a chance? Even Democrats, even people like Joe Manchin are calling for them not to do so because the future is uncertain with how hateful Democrats are and how they're okay with upsetting the system.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever, every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Switch today and get 1 month of service absolutely free by going to patriotmobile.com/reason. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left finds new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back. And that's where we can help. Head to our website at HooserReason.com. There you can find our latest blog discussing topical issues of the day. Let us know your thoughts on current events with different surveys and chat rooms. And keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Plus, when you head to the website, you can always get great deals and different offers from all of our great radio partners. Finally, if you want more of the show, you can find our podcasts with all of our great episodes and your favorite guests. And make sure to check out the latest Voice of Reason infomercials and maybe some other special content. And it's all because of you being part of the Hoosier-holic family. Let's continue to fight for conservative common sense principles together by going to HooserReason.com. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
What fuels the freedom to dream bigger? Our country's greatest breakthroughs were born from bold ideas and the ability to take one small step forward. At Americans for Prosperity, freedom and opportunity find their defenders. Because our country's next giant leap is just around the corner. Are you ready to step up?
Hey, the live show may be almost over today, but it doesn't have to be for you. As always, enjoy the Voice of Reason with our daily podcast by finding the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser on any of your favorite podcasting sites. Just find us, subscribe, have it automatically downloaded, and listen at your convenience whenever you want to bring some more reason into your day. And a lot of people are doing it. Also, you can always find the video of the show, along with articles, additional commentary, and maybe a few sarcastic remarks by following us on our social media. Stay up to date with everything going on with the show, including upcoming guests, breaking news stories, interesting articles, and maybe some memes. Help us in the ongoing battle with censorship and shadow banning from social media by following us on the social media at Hooser Reason on all of our social media sites. For all the social media links, podcast links, contact information, or just general information of the show, go to our website at HooserReason.com. There you can listen live every day, read our latest monthly blog, find our radio affiliate list, or even listen to our latest infomercials and special content. Plus, you can always reach out to the program by sending me a message on social media, emailing us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com, or sending an email through our website at HooserReason.com. Whether it's content on the show, whether it's a guest that you've liked or disliked, or whether you want to disagree with me, and disagreement's always appreciated. While you're there, make sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter. Each month, you'll get the latest update on the show, updates from the Hooser Media Network, and our latest blog discussing topical issues of the day. Finally, if you want to help support the show, become a member of our Patreon site and help us fight for the cause of truth, reason, and common sense every day, and get more of the same by becoming the ultimate Hoosierholic. Get additional interviews that sometimes we don't always get to air on the radio. Hear our special segments or even our infomercials before anyone else, and have a chance to chat with other great Hoosierholics from all over. By becoming a Patreon subscriber, you're not only helping the fight for conservative values, you're helping us get more content and information out through the Hooser Media Network. Find out more information online at HooserReason.com. Lastly, follow and support all of our partners with the show. The Voice of Reason has been growing more and more every year, and it's because of so many great partners helping us get the message out to you. From show partners to local radio affiliates in your area to streaming sites, podcasting sites, and more, we have so many supporters and listeners now than ever before, and we want to thank you. It's time to bring back common sense, and we do it right here every day with the Voice of Reason.
America's safe space for common sense. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
All right, welcome back into the program. Got a few minutes left as we wrap things up for a Monday. Setting that tone here for the week. Plenty to talk about for sure. Sorry, I was on Newsmax and looking at some of the headlines now, and Todd Starnes' program is on right now on the TV for Newsmax. It caught me off guard because I was like, wait a second, what's that guy doing there? Todd Starnes, great radio host, great friend, ToddStarnes.com. You can go and check him out and see all of his work that he does. He was actually at a rally today in Memphis where he's based out of, President Trump doing his security task force tour and talking with Memphis on how he was able to clean up some of the streets with the National Guard there. That was kind of neat. On the front of the issues right now that the Trump administration is working on, the multitasking that we see from the Trump administration. He made a statement yesterday or this morning saying that we're now apparently in works and communication with the nation of Iran with the conflict, which is interesting after the Senate, before they went into this filibuster, voted to allow President Trump to still have these powers as the, I don't know, commander-in-chief. What a wild concept on that one, right? Yeah. That he says that we're in communication with the nation of Iran, their leadership, and we're going to try and find a way to open up the ports out there and open up the strait, and we're going to allow things to start flowing again, or else we're going to hit their energy sources. And Donald Trump said, well, if we don't see any change in 5 days, then we're going to go back to bombing. Iran, according to Newsmax, Iran says that they say that Donald Trump is, quote, backed down and is caving because obviously they haven't learned their lesson yet. And this regime is not going to learn its lesson. And while we're looking at a time frame of 4 to 6 weeks for this action, we're about 4 weeks into it right now. Donald Trump wants to start winding things down. It doesn't sound like they've quite learned the lesson. And Donald Trump says, well, we'll kind of wait and see what happens.
So the discussions took place yesterday. They went into yesterday evening. They want very much to make a deal. We'd like to make a deal too. We're going to get together today. by probably phone, because it's very hard to find a country. It's very hard for them to get out, I guess. But we'll at some point very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
I love that comment, bombing our little hearts out there. He has no problem. Okay, you know what? We'll give you a chance. I don't honestly think that it's going to go anywhere with this quote-unquote progressive talk and progressing anything worthwhile. These guys lie all the time. They talk out of one side of their mouth while they continue to do action. Russia's doing the same thing, right? I mean, Russia always says, oh, yeah, we're about coming to the table. We're about meeting with Zelensky and with the nation of Ukraine, and let's find a way to end this. We're not going to bomb anymore. And then literally as he's saying that, they have operations going on blowing up apartment complexes in Ukraine because, well, they just don't care. They lie, and we cannot trust them. The Iranians are the worst of that. Did you see, by the way, over the weekend at the United Nations, the spokesperson for the nation of Iran mad at the United Nations and mad at Russia and mad at China, making hints that they were the ones that were supposed to protect the nation of Iran and prevent this from happening, and calling them out for that, and now saying, making more threats, apparently not learning their lesson, telling the United Nations, the global quote-unquote government, and I say that very loosely because they're the most useless organization out there, but telling this quote-unquote global government that they have to support Iran in retaliating against the United States because the U.S. broke global law in this bombing in the first place. And they were supposed to be protected, and the UN was supposed to protect them, and Russia was supposed to protect them, and China was supposed to protect them. And they're playing the victim and then saying that there's going to be nuclear response, which we've kind of taken out the majority of their nuclear weapons, but they're still trying to talk tough, that they've told the UN that they have to sanction and support Iran in responding with nuclear weapons against the United States. That's how delusional these individuals are. And they're not stopping. We've said it before, I don't like to put in regime change as one of our responsibilities as a U.S. government. It's really supposed to be about the people of Iran doing the regime change, but giving them the opportunity for that regime change by just blowing the snot out of these bad guys, these Islamists, these radicals, these fascists that are out there that we do not want to be in a governmental position at all. And until that's done, nothing's going to change. So we trust President Donald Trump. We trust Pete Hegseth. We trust them making the right decision and wanting to de-escalate as much as possible. But I fear that the constant questioning of when this conflict will be resolved, the constant harping of the time frame and the timeline and the timetable for when this is going to be done, may be putting pressure on him to try and pull out naively and prematurely before the real job is done. I do not wish for these tweets and this comment that President Trump has made to be our George Bush version of the mission accomplished, where we had that banner across the warship and we're like, oh, everything's all done. And then we had 20 more years. I do not want to see that. Get it done right, and then let's pull out, be over, and be done with it. Back at it again tomorrow for a Tuesday. We'll have more information on this and so much more. Until then, we'll see you on the radio soon. Bye.
For too long, Washington has said no to builders, workers, and American families, and yes to bureaucracy, delay, and special interests. Let's flip that. Say yes to building more housing and no to government mandates that block it. Yes to permitting American energy and no to endless red tape. Yes